This is Rob Tubber for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by two-weight world champion, the Jackal, Cole Frampton. We're here in New York on the day of Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Should I introduce you as like a media colleague now as well?
Whatever you want. I done well. I got a wee scoop off AJ, which was good. It was very kind of him actually to give me an interview. It was weird. I was standing there in the line, like the rest of the journalists, and felt like a bit of a knob, if I'm being honest. And he kind of seen me, and he went offside and got someone to come over and say, "Look, send Carl round the back," and fair play to him. He's a nice big lad. He's obviously a lot of things to do, but he took a few minutes out of his time to sit down and speak to me, which I appreciate a lot.
Did you have an existing relationship with AJ, or was that just something that kind of happened there and then between fighters?
I don't have a relationship with him at all. I think it's just two fighters know each other. It's always surprising. I feel like I've done pretty well in this game, but it's always still surprising when you get a superstar like AJ who recognises you, you know. Oh, the Yeds. Getting tanked today, mate.
You've been doing a lot of media lately. You do the excellent Tico podcast with a good friend of mine, Chris Lloyd. Obviously a good friend of yours too. Have you been enjoying it?
I have been, to be honest. Obviously, it was keeping me occupied while I was having a bit of a break from boxing and deciding what to do next. It was once a week job, flying to London mainly to do it, and I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the part. The very first one we done was Chris Eubank, and I remember thinking, holy God, if it's like this every week, I'm not coming back. But the rest have been fine. I am enjoying it, and we've got kind of a few in the can for me starting the camp, and they're going to come to Manchester now, so I'll not be affecting my training camp whatsoever. But I do genuinely enjoy it, and hopefully it's something that I can keep doing when I pack this game in, because that's getting close, you know what I mean? So you need to be thinking about the future.
Is it something that you'd always... I know you've done punditry in the past and kind of been on panels, etc., but was a proper move, as it were, into the media ever something that you thought of?
No, never. And this offer kind of came to get involved with the podcast, and I didn't really think about it. I just said, it sounds good. Sounds like something I would enjoy, but I enjoy the punditry work. I've done a wee bit of co-commentary for the Super Series as well recently. First time doing that. Got a half decent feedback, so... yeah, it's something that I enjoy doing. And it's easy, isn't it? It's just like pretty much say what you see, and that's all I've been doing.
He does one bloody press conference and suddenly the media works easy. Where are you with regards to a return to the ring? I know you've been training while you've been out here, ticking over. I know there's a date around sort of, I think, September time that people are talking about, August time, yeah, people are talking about. Where are we with regards to an opponent? What kind of level?
I haven't even mentioned opponent, so what I've been told is a fight to get me back. So it'll need to be someone of a decent level. I'm guessing it's not going to be one of the top guys in the division, but someone just beneath the top fighters in planet. I can't be taking, although I lost my last fight, I can't be jumping back, and I do want to be fighting for a world title again soon. So I want to set myself up for that. I want to prove to myself and the other people that I've still got it against good fighters. So we need a decent level of opposition, and then hopefully Oscar Valdez is the one after.
They mentioned obviously your last fight against Josh Warrington, unsuccessful challenge for the IBF World Featherweight title. I know from your first defeat to Leo Santa Cruz that hit you quite hard at the time. What was it like the second time to Josh Warrington? It
was hard because I was really expecting to win the fight. And again, not that I overlooked him, and I did slightly. I overlooked his punching power. I never imagined that he was going to be able to hurt me, and there's nothing really to suggest that he could have with his record. He's only had 6 knockouts or whatever, and he's had similar sort of wins to me. So I was going into the fight knowing it was going to be physical. He's fit, strong, gritty. I knew it was going to be a tough fight, but I thought when we stand and fight, he's not going to be able to hurt me. And he nailed me in the first round, and that idea quickly went out of my head. Very, very disappointed with how I performed and the result. I was a bit down for a while, but it was just before Christmas, and I can't be moping about when I've got a couple of kids. We went to Dubai for the New Year as well, and I quickly forgot about it.
You mentioned that Josh's punching power. If you're going into a fight expecting that somebody can't hurt you, and they do hurt you so early in the fight, what does that do to your mentality, your kind of psyche for the rest of the fight?
Well, I don't know. I think if it had been a shot that hurt me, and then you quickly get your wits about you again, you maybe a different kind of outlook for the rest of the fight, and right, hold on a minute, this guy actually can punch. I'm going to be on my guard here, but he nailed me in the first round a number of times, hurt me, done pretty well to stay on my feet, and then again he nailed me in the second round, and after 2 rounds, it was almost like a third round was pretty brutal as well. It was almost like I'd done 10, you know what I mean? So it was hard for me to come back from that. I feel like I'd done okay to win a few rounds in the middle, considering the dreadful start. He won the fight, pretty convincingly, fair and square. Done very well in the night. They had good tactics. I wasn't able to use the tactics that I wanted to, get up on my feet and move around, and that was it, really.
Rematch, something that would interest you down the line? Obviously, people are talking about the Oscar Valdez fight, which has been talked about for a long time for yourself. Obviously, you're well known to that audience, particularly in America. But is the Josh Warrington fight a fight that you'd like to get?
Yeah, of course. But again, it's one fight at a time for me. So I don't even know who my next opponent's going to be at this point. So, and then Valdez is the most realistic of the world champions for the fight after that, considering we're both now of top rank. So, but imagine a fight with Warrington, a unification fight with Warrington, and me trying to avenge a defeat and a really under par performance. Again, that would be another huge fight. But everything has to happen. I have to keep winning. Josh Warrington has to keep hold of his belt for it to be big. But even if I was a champion and Josh maybe has lost his title, whatever, it's a fight that I would still welcome.
Now, I didn't actually see you in Glasgow, but I knew you were there. When you came afterwards, you were with Josh. I was over at the other hotel, and we just missed each other. That night, another ex-opponent of yours, Kiko Martinez, boxed another champion in the featherweight, Gary Russell Jr. Did you catch the fight?
I haven't seen the fight yet. It was a strange fight. When I heard it was happening, it's like Gary Russell doesn't box that often. He's boxing like once a year, and then when he boxes, he's fighting Kiko Martinez. A wee bit underwhelming, Fair play to Kiko, he keeps getting these shots. He did win a European title back. But Gary Russell's someone who fights once a year. You'd imagine if you're going to have one fight a year, there's going to be unification fights or whatever. But from what I'm hearing in the media, he doesn't seem that happy. I've seen that he's met with Eddie Hearn. There could be a move to the zone and Matchroom pretty soon. But he's an amazing fighter. Probably out of all the featherweights, the toughest fight, I think, for me would be Gary Russell.
I mentioned that night, obviously you were doing your co-commentary for the World Boxing Super Series. The one clip that I remember is you shaking your head at Noah Inoue. Yeah. I was there ringside watching that fight. Spectacular performance. That boy can really fight.
Yeah, no, he can. It was great to see him up close and personal, and obviously I've got a good relationship now with Nonito Donaire, who he fights in the final, and I spoke to Donaire after it a bit, and you were kind of saying, I know he's special and he's a serious puncher, and Donaire made an interesting point to me, and I knew he is a monster, as they call him. The name is very fitting, and he's going through these high level opponents like a hot knife through butter. But Donaire made a good point. He says when he hits them, they still get up and try to fight on. When I hit them, they go to sleep. Well, you're right. And Donaire's hit some big men as well. That left hook is a tremendous shot. So I think, people are looking at this thinking, he's just going to blow Donaire away. If Donaire lands his left hook, it could quickly flip on its head, you know what I mean? So it's a very, very interesting fight. And I'm hoping to get out to it. Again, I've got a good friendship now with Nonito, and my wife's got a good friendship with his wife. So we'd maybe make a trip to wherever it is and support him.
Yeah, he said the same thing to me, because obviously he's boxed you at featherweight, and he's boxed Nicholas Walters, another big featherweight. He said that when he's at featherweight, he has to sit down on his left hook, which makes it a little bit easier to come. When he's at bantamweight, he just lets it go. And we saw the Stephen Young knockout. I spoke to him straight after the fight, after the Inoue fight. I don't know what I expected, but Nonito was very much Nonito in a sense of he was very excited at the prospects. It just gives you like a measure of the man, really.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. and a quality fighter. And although I think he's probably the favourite, anyway. Well, I know he'll be the favourite going into the fight, but don't write Naniro the Nara off. I think both of them can punch as hard as each other. And Dinar has looked very, very good back down at bantamweight. He was never a featherweight, and he won a world title at featherweight. He's back down at bantamweight, which is his natural weight. He seems to be doing it pretty easy. It's a very, very interesting fight.
Now that night also saw a new world champion crowned, your old gym mate, your old stable mate, Josh Taylor. What did you make of his performance at some fight of Ivan Baranchyk?
Brilliant fight, and a brilliant performance as well. Probably very, very exciting fight. Josh probably made it a bit harder for him. So I know he did, and I spoke to him after it, and he accepted that he fought a bit too much. But that's Josh, and we used to call him Hank, and out of me, myself, and Irene, and yeah, that's him. Like, he's like two different characters. The nice guy, and then when he goes full Hank, it's hard to get him back out of that. So Josh can fight, and he's very, very exciting. That's why people love him. And I hope that he goes on and wins the whole thing. Now, I think he will. Progray's a tough fight. That's again another interesting fight, and the Super Series has produced so many great fights. This is another one. Tough fight, hard one to call, but I'm backing Taylor.
Before we move on to your stablemate, Tommy Coyle, who fights Chris Algieri in quite 6 hours or 7 hours. What do you make of Josh Warrington versus Kid Galahad? I know Kid Galahad's probably not top of your Christmas card list, but do you see that being a competitive fight?
I think for a few rounds it'll be competitive. Galahad's, a nice mover and pretty slick. And I think after that Josh will just take over, and I think that he could stop him. I think he could force a stoppage pretty late on. The towel may even come in. I think it'll get to the point where it's one-sided. And I'm saying that because I think Josh is just gritty. He's more determined. His work ethic is a bit too much. Galahad likes it all his own way, and he hasn't fought anyone yet. You hear all the good stories about him, sparring in the gym, and he's brilliant and slick, but it's a different story doing it on fight night at Allen Road and stuff, where he's not going to have much support. I think it'll be competitive early on, but tricky. I think Josh will go through him. If I was Josh as well, his tactics against me were to move around and then kind of pounce the last minute of the round, which worked a treat. If I was in Josh's camp, I would be saying stay on him for every minute or every second of every round. I think he'll break his heart. I think he'll stop him late.
We mentioned Josh's power earlier. How did he compare with some of the other fighters that you've been in the ring with? I mean, Kiko's a big puncher. Leo, I assume he could punch a bit. Was he the hardest puncher you've ever been in with?
Yeah, Josh Warrington. It's surprising. You look at the record and it doesn't suggest that he is, but I've been in with Quigg, who can punch. Leo can punch a bit. Santa Cruz can punch. Hugo Cazares, I remember, hit me a left hook and went, oh, good shot. Chris Avalos meant to be a puncher too. But Josh Warrington was the hardest puncher I've been in with. Sounds like a contradiction because he doesn't knock many people out, but I've never been hit like that in my life.
How much of that do you think is him, and how much of that do you think is potentially you? You're not an old fighter, of course, but you are later on in your career. Do you think that kind of plays any small factor?
You're the second person that has brought that up to me and said, is it his punching power or your punch resistance? That's a good question. Well, I feel like I've sparred big men all my life. I sparred decent punchers in the lead up to the fight, and never felt like I was being hurt or anything. I know fight night and fight night's different with the smaller gloves on, but I'm still all right, and I've still got a wee bit left to give. So I don't think the punch resistance is gone. And you know what? It was a pretty brutal and intense fight. I stayed on my feet, and I seen it out to the final bell. So if my punch resistance was going downhill, I think I'd have been probably on the deck in that fight because I had some clean punches.
And I saw some tweets from yourself about your family watching by now. I have a young family. I've just seen you FaceTime and your young family, so I kind of know what it's like to be away from them. To be away from them and getting punched is a different thing that I don't really know anything about. But how close were you after that fight to potentially considering your future?
Well, I was retired literally for 2 weeks. It's a short amount of time, but in the changing room, I was a retired fighter. Didn't make any official statements because I was always thinking, if you make a statement like that, it's difficult to come back and say, actually, I'm not retired anymore. So, but in my head, I was retired, and I thought about it, and thought, like, I've had a great career. I don't want to finish on a fight like that and a really under par performance. I still believe there's a world title in me, and that's why I'm doing it. So, imagine I come back and beat a great champion like Oscar Valdez. The Warrington performance is quickly forgotten about, and then what already is a fantastic career and overachieved career becomes even better, and that's why I'm doing it. I still believe I have a world title in me.
And moving on to Tommy Coyle, who boxes Chris Algieri tonight. I've seen him around the hotel and around the media events all week. Looks like a kid in a candy store. First and foremost, what does it mean to Tommy Coyle to be boxing at Madison Square Garden on the undercard of a world heavyweight title fight?
It means the world. And Tommy has spoke about this before. He knows that he's kind of like, he never imagined this, you know what I mean, where he was coming from in Hull, and he's had some big fights. He's had a stadium fight in Hull against Luke Campbell. He boxed in America and Boston. That was a big deal to him on a smaller bill. But the box in the Mecca on the undercard of a unified world, a heavyweight title fight, it's a huge deal to Tommy Coyle, and he's excited, and he's really up for it. That's the thing, he's really up for this fight. I think you're going to see a brilliant performance from him, and I'm not just saying this because I'm Team Coyle, but you look at Algieri on the scales. If he was a bodybuilder, he'd have got a round of applause there. You know what I mean? He looks like he's too lean. I know what it's like having to be super bantam. We'd have to be very, very lean. Can't really take body shots as well when you have to be that lean. He was leaner than me than I've ever been. He was in incredible shape, but he's not the shape of a boxer. And I think a big performance from Tommy. I think Tommy's going to stop him late. I really do. I think he's going to put it on him. It'll be competitive for a few rounds, but I think Tommy Coyle is going to stop Algieri late.
Something I've mentioned to yourself, I've also spoken to Martin Murray in the past when Rocky Fielding was going to come over to box Canelo. You're somebody you've boxed stateside, you've been in some very, very big fights domestically. Tommy Coyle has never been there. Has he picked your brains about kind of fighting away from home? Are there little tidbits of information that you've tried to give him?
No, not really. If he asks me a question, he wants to find something out, I'll give him it, but Tommy's his old man. I'm not going to tell him this is what you should do because he knows what he should do. He's been involved in big fights and big nights before. And at the end of the day, a ring's a ring, you know what I mean? And it's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. So I can't really give him too much advice. One bit of advice I did give him yesterday was to put his trainers on when they were doing the head-to-head, because Tommy's he's not much taller than me, and Algieri's a big guy. So with no trainers on, barefoot, Algieri with his trainers on, it would look ridiculous for photographs and the head-to-head. So that was probably the only advice I've given him. And it worked. He put them on.
Well, if he wins the fight, then you can tell him it was all about the trainers at the weigh-in. Okay, well, Carl Frampton, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. I look forward to an announcement of your return to the ring. Stop stealing all of the media's work, and I will catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, mate.
Nice one, Carl.
Right, Rob.
That was great.